are we doing today?
What are we doing today? We have a new segment in which I give I have a list of films I know you saw.
Okay.
And so, from memory, you will be doing...
Do I start at the top or do I just...
any pick whatever you like.
Pick this one. Because I want to be picky. Oh! Expletive. Right. Sorry. A Farewell to Arms. 1957. Rock Hudson. Now, the reason you knew I had seen this is because you know that I watch everything Rock Hudson. Expletive. Directed Charles Vidor. Sorry about, I don't know how to pronounce it. And John Huston uncredited. Writing credits, it is after a novel by Ernest Hemingway. Then it became a play, Lawrence Stallings, and then it became a screenplay, Ben Hecht. Right. Blurb. An English nurse and an American soldier on the Italian front during World War I fall in love, but the horrors surrounding them test their romance to the limit. And we have Jennifer Jones as the woman, I assume, and Vittorio de Sica as Major Alessandro Rinaldi. Now, I can't say I remember all the characters. I only ever watched this once. Because it is rather on the heavy side. I was very surprised to see Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson plays Lieutenant Frederick Henry. I was really surprised to see him in this movie. In a way, pleasantly, because it is a proper dramatic role. And he's done a fair amount of dramatic roles. I'm just gonna have to dig up names of various really good dramatic movies. The one where he's a former... It's about the Korean War, and he's a former...
Is it called Battle Hymn?
Is it Battle Hymn? Could be, yes. Battle Hymn. And he ends up rescuing like an ungodly amount of... Together with some other people. An ungodly amount of orphans. So now that movie I watched several times. Farewell to Arms I did not watch a second time because it was a slog. It's 2.5 hours. I thought he was great. I was very surprised because I didn't know the Ernest Hemingway part of it when I was watching it. I was like, Rock Hudson, hey. World War I, that was surprising, and the futility of the war comes into it, which needs to come in when it's World War I. But I don't know. Yeah, are we doing spoilers? I mean, I'm gonna be all over the place on this one because the romance between them was very different from any other movie that Rock Hudson has done. It wasn't a romance that you think, okay, this is gonna work out because, hey, does it? Doesn't it? Her character, she is so all over the place. Get the sense that half the time she's lying. Maybe she was. And since I don't know anything about the novel, I don't know. But I think he loved her very sincerely and wanted a life with her, and I think that from her perspective that may never have been possible. It was never going to be possible. I have to get my conjugations right. And then she gets pregnant. Whether or not they are actually married at that point, I'm fuzzy on. I'm not sure. Because she keeps putting that off or something like that. And then she dies in childbirth. So I'm like, what am I watching here? Is this a World War One movie? Is this about, the pain and torture of being sent to a futile war? Or is this a romance? Or is this about mental illness? Maybe she's there's something wrong with her. And I don't know, if I'd watched it properly, with I'm gonna talk about it, then I would have probably paid attention to that. But it's I was just
a viewer.
Yeah, it was.
If they confuse just a viewer, that's not good.
And what I came away with from it was that Rock Hudson holds his own in that. And over his career, I believe he asked and kept trying to get more serious roles. And he did some Douglas Sirk ones as well, which they can take a weird twist as well, but it is usually still about the drama, still about the human condition and all of that. I'm not sure that A Farewell to Arms is about the human condition, maybe in the book, or maybe it was intended, but if somebody gets flung from one thing to another, war, romance, and then at some point they're trying to get away from the war, or he's trying to get away from the war. I'm not clear on that part anymore. But and then she dies in childbirth. It's well, you know what? I think I'm not a big fan of movies where they put the two leads together, that it's about their relationship and then one of them gets killed off. So you make their relationship complex so that you have a story to tell, and that you really bring me, the viewer, into their lives and the difficulties of that romance and trying, and then now we're rooting for them. Even though, okay, somebody might be a little nuts, that's fine. Hopefully.
Sanity is highly overrated.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it was a crazy era, and I think maybe that's more of the message of it. It's things were so out of whack that stuff just kept happening. And then you can imagine somebody like that coming out of the World War I period and saying, okay, sorry, but I've lost it. It's PTSD, it's shell shock. It's what happened? Why did this even happen? I think maybe also in the past, hopefully we have gotten a lot better with medicine, but in the past, so many women died in childbirth. So there's probably a lot of people at the time who could relate to it.
Maybe she dies as a plot point. She dies in childbirth because the men die in war and the women die in childbirth.
Yeah, and they were both dealing with the fact that there was war, and that I think he was trying to get out of it, and that part, I was not. I was watching it for Rock Hudson, going, oh, Rock Hudson, I like it.
So is it advisable as a Rock Hudson fan to watch this movie?
If you want to see him in a seriously dramatic role and don't want to watch Seconds, I made the decision so far not to watch Seconds, because in the movie he plays, but the character he plays has a mental breakdown, and that I've seen flashes of it, and I'm like, by the point that an actor gets so good that he can sell that, it's too freaky for me to watch. So I didn't watch that. I know he fought to get that role. I don't know, 57, if he had to fight at all to get A Farewell to Arms. I think he would have been extremely pleased to get it, because it's a big role. It's a big name. And in 57 he was still under the studio system and was being given, I think 54 or 52 was his first one with
he played a lot of Native Americans and stuff like that in the very first one.
He played one,
and he played furniture in another one, and
he did bit parts until he got Magnificent Obsession. And that wasn't filmed as well as it could be. But what they did was they filmed the remake of the earlier film, not the book, which not a good idea. But that seems to be how Hollywood does it. If there's been an original film in the black and white era, and we want to do it again,
well, they have the rights, so
then...
that's nice and cheap.
Yeah, they have the rights to do. Yeah,
and I think this is also a remake of an earlier black and white movie. I think there's another Farewell to Arms. Don't know if they used the same
might
script.
Might be up here when we talk.
I don't know if they used the same script, but they might have still had the rights to make the movie from the book, because the book is a modern book in the 30s.
Yeah. Also, Rock Hudson didn't do a lot of period pieces, and I like, even if it's only World War One, it's not big on the costumes and stuff, but it's still nice to see him, other than in the 1950s, 60s, very city America. It's a good role. So yeah, as a Rock Hudson fan, definitely see it once. Then make your decision whether you want to see it again. I hadn't really considered watching it again, but now that we're talking about it, I could see watching it again, because I'm now curious. To
we get it part 2 of this.
I don't know. Yeah, I let us know. You want Rock Hudson films? I could do Rock Hudson films. If you think I do a lot of Hugh Grant films, I do a lot more Rock Hudson films. Yeah. So it's cool. I don't really remember the rest of the cast. Does that mean that they didn't impress me, or that it was just really? It felt like it was really focused on the two of them.
But the rest of the cast wasn't obnoxious.
No, I don't remember anything about it, so
the looks?
I wasn't. The looks, I found it lacking in color. Sometimes those 50s films, that they may have used good film, good color, or they may not have, and then they try to do for DVD and stuff. They try to lift it a bit. That's about all I felt. It felt very 1950s, 60s, looking back on the era. So mostly that everything was quite sparse. That wouldn't be in the 50s anymore, and in 1910s it would be. You wouldn't have so many items in the interiors of places. That was really most of that what I remember. And he looked, his uniform. Yeah. So for a movie sprung on me, that was interesting to go down memory lane. I wish I'd seen it a little bit more recent. But yeah, I would watch it again. And I would recommend people watch it. I believe there is a remake for Farewell to Arms, much more modern.
There's at least one for TV. At least one for TV.
Yeah.
I think Hallmark in the 90s and the 2000s may have done one.
Don't know. So you're probably better off watching something more modern, or of a modern remake, of a modern making, than a 1950s film. The 1950s film will also always feel slower, but sometimes I like that. Sometimes I like, because we're on our phones. We're all the episodes. You watch Game of Thrones. Hey, if you watch that sort of stuff, you watch something like that. You want all the new stuff coming on television, and film especially is like fast. And if it's a period piece, it's usually the big sweeping Jane Austen kind of things. But this is kind of interesting because there's not a huge amount of World War One. The most recent thing World War One that I've seen was the season 2 of Downton Abbey, and they did a very good job on that. That's also something like, I don't know how many hours in a season, but it's just the one season. That's another good World War One romp that you could watch and get the flavor of what we think went on there, and what really presented problems for people's personal lives. I think that's what this this story is trying to say is look at how people can get crushed. And even if she wasn't already, maybe she wasn't already, may have had a mental condition or not. We don't know, because life could have made her really start losing it. And then she gets killed. It's like, what? So sometimes I'm, yes, it's super dramatic for the guy. Maybe that's the male gaze then. It's so super dramatic for the guy that she then also dies. We feel for him now, but I'm watching both of them. I don't want to just feel for him. I want, if you give me a slow burn romance with lots of problems, then I want, in the end, of course you're not going to get it. This is not a romance movie. This is not a rom-com, but there's a big romance in it. So
it's a romance for guys, basically.
Maybe that's it. There's a huge amount of widowers in film and television to give the guy pathos, and this is one of the. I mean, it's a trope, and I think they've kind of stopped doing it now because they've done it so often. I hope they've stopped doing it. Give the guy some pathos for his own sake, not because his kid died, his wife died, his mother died. Well, mother died. I think that's reasonable. But given all of that, that's just how I would want things. But this was it was a startlingly gruesome story packaged in nice actors, fairly prettily filmed with some scary moments, and that's probably the right choice for the story. Yeah. So, more questions from the peanut gallery, because that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it.